Indeed, that's exactly what the topic of the day is, food safety with regards to World Health Day. And of course, I think as most of us might know, bout of food poisoning is one of the worst things that can happen to you. That's why we have multimedia health specialist Dr. Darren Green here with us. And we're also taking your calls on the topic. Give us a call on 083-913-3728 as we talk about food safety. So, Dr. Green, how is food contaminated to begin with? Because I mean, I guess that's the starting point of food safety, right?
I think microbes or organisms that have the ability to cause infection, basically they get onto food in different ways, as you can imagine, from the transferring of ground itself and not washing your raw vegetables and fruit properly, contamination through the waste or the feces of animals, for example, on farms, the manures, the dung, etc., that's mixed into the soil quite often on farms, looking at those processes.
Sure.
The bacteria or the organisms then get, obviously, into the soil. Come home with the vegetables and fruit. They're not washed or prepared properly. That's one way. And then you have different other organisms that are activated by just poor habits at home in terms of how we thaw food. In other words, how we defrost food, wanting rapid results, or perhaps even letting it stand outside until it gets too warm before actually cooking it. And that facilitates, obviously, a great environment for the bugs to grow in.
Yes.
And then certain bugs, obviously, are associated with different food groups. Like in dairy, for example, chicken, we have the big salmonella that everyone talks about.
Okay.
You also have another one called Campylobacter, which are really, really popular bugs that we demonstrate readily, with devastating effects on the gastrointestinal tract because they can manufacture toxins that then enter the body once ingested, go to the stomach and affect the lining of your gastrointestinal tract.
Yes.
And the absorption and secretion then of water and fluids into the gut is then hampered or impaired, which results then in the spurious diarrhea. And obviously the problem is how the longer it takes for that to clear up, the more secondary complications of chronic diarrhea there actually are in the gut.
Yeah, and so there's talk of the 4 C's, is it, when it comes to, to food contamination? What are these 4 C's?
Cleanliness is the first one, washing your hands before you work with food, obviously. If you've got diarrhea yourself and are infected, you have to wash your hands thoroughly. You have to make sure your kitchen is clean. The surfaces that you work on need to be cleaned with a decent disinfectant daily. And then obviously you look at things like cooking, the cooking of your food, whether you're cooking your food to the right temperature, for example.
Wow, okay.
Then cooling down the food, the chilling process of food.
That's the second C.
Cleanliness,
chilling,
cooking,
and then now we're chilling.
That's right. The chilling obviously is allowing your food to be stored at the right temperature between 0 and 5 degrees in your fridge.
Yes.
So imagine leave your fridge open for the night. The temperature obviously then rises, it gets warmer in the fridge, facilitates the growth of certain bugs on the food. So meat, for example, should be stored in a sealed container at the bottom of your fridge where it's the coolest.
Okay.
Always. And then the last C is cross-contamination.
Cross-contamination.
So in the kitchen, for example, when you're using a knife or utensil and you're cutting up meat or fish or that kind of thing, we often then touch or mix the cutting board, for example. Your veggies are cut on the same board as your
So that's actually a thing?
That's a thing, because that toxin can then be just transferred to other dishes and other food, for example. So that's what we need to take care of.
And I thought I was just being fancy with all my different coloured cutting boards. But
there's
of course,
a purpose.
Exactly, there's a purpose to it. So we're taking your call, 083-913-3728. It's World Health Day. We're talking about food safety, especially with regards to food poisoning and what to do if you believe that you might have about a food poisoning. We'll continue our conversation right after this short break. But let's first find out what else is happening on your Feel Good Breakfast show.